So yeah, I started the recording. We can answer that question on mentality there real quick. So when it comes to maintaining your composure, right, it comes out of making sure that we're kind of understanding the game, like kind of our place in the game. First off, you want to take the pressure out of the game and realize that you are not in Overwatch League, right? So you playing this game, though you're playing for fun, it's not something that is insanely important, and therefore, if you get tilted or you get upset with the game, then it shouldn't really matter in the first place, right? Because it's just a game. So you'll also notice that you'll just have more fun and also perform better when you are not taking the game as seriously. Now you can still play a game competitively and be trying really hard without getting really upset with the consequences of losing, right? So you just want to kind of understand the fact that there's no stakes involved at all, right? And losing is nothing but internet points, right? So you might want to get more internet points, but that doesn't mean that you have to get upset when you lose them. So that's a big first step to it. And then the other step is do you typically have like any problems with like understanding or we're kind of like with blaming your team at all, or no?
I mean, most of the time I don't really have a problem usually because I try to deal with things as
Mm,
best I can as in my own little bubble and not really. I never really ask people to change characters unless
mm-hmm.
it's like really bad. In which case, like if we're playing like Junk Sim into a far, I'll be like, hey, we might need it. But I won't
Yep.
usually tell anybody to switch because that's not usually my spot. Well, I usually hope they know what to do. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as like as far as wait, what was the question? I got go.
I was just
Forgot.
saying, like, did you have any problems with like getting upset with your teams?
No, I mainly only ever get upset with myself, and it
Mm.
usually like I will tilt. I won't get on the mic and yell at anybody or anything like that, but
Yep.
I'll lose my focus and lose where I'm at mentally. And I
Mm.
obviously understand that I'm not like a professional, and I'm not going pro,
Yep.
but like obviously competitive edges, you'd still get a little heated, and it's like, well, how do I not throw a match by getting upset at myself or just kind of giving up sometimes.
Mm.
That's
Yep. So like when it comes to that, right? Like I said, like you can definitely still be competitive. Like it's not one or the other. It's not being competitive or being casual. It's you can still be competitive while also not getting upset with it, right? By making sure that you're understanding that there aren't stakes involved, and then on top of that, looking to kind of like you say, you're looking towards yourself, but trying to look towards having an improvement mentality rather than getting upset at results, right? Because if you're losing and you're getting upset at the fact that you're losing, that's not looking towards how you could be getting better. So, when you're trying to play, you should be having the mindset and mentality that we're trying to fix our mistakes and trying to get more efficient and improve. And then you're going to find that when you do, you're going to have more fun along the way, right? Because more people have fun winning, and people have fun when they're better at the game, right? So you're going to have a better time when you're, look not having a bad time, right?
yeah.
All right, so then why don't we go ahead and get started here? So I'm gonna be quiet for like a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about, and then once I find something to talk about, we'll start talking. All right, so on this map, I think the first thing we'll talk about is No Man's Land. So um, Hmm. How do I guess we'll just stay in here. There's no reason to leave to talk about this, but right where we're holding is what we call No Man's Land. So No Man's Land, I'm gonna assume maybe you're not familiar with the term.
Well, I mean, I know that area of the map isn't a good place to sit. I was planning on backing up, but
Mm.
I got booped forward by Lucio,
Okay.
and like I kind of got evaporated as soon as it happened. Like I knew I made a mistake as soon as it happened, but I was gonna back up to the next corner and hang out on the next corner, but
Yep. So that
not
backup should have come much earlier, right? So we
yeah.
kind of hung out here for way too long. So especially as soon as we see it's a dive, right? What sets a dive apart from other comps?
Well, primarily their ability to get on top of people
Yep,
and
they're
close
fast, right?
distance. And we got the Winston, and that's kind of why I hung out longer than I probably should have, because he jumped in. We halted him back, and Sigma and I we did manage to gun him down, but I should have probably just started immediately backpedaling as soon as he jumped in. I
Yep.
just wanted to. I made the mistake of wanting to kill the Winston and then the Lucio punishment
Exactly.
for it.
We got a little bit greedy, right? So in this instance, we weren't holding in the best spot. I don't. I guess I don't have to go into no man's land specifically, but here we just want to be holding back on this corner, right? Not up top here or up front here. And then when we see that they're on a dive and they can get to us very, very fast, we don't want to be hanging out here for very long. So it's like as soon as we see that they're about to jump in, we should just be basically backing up. The other thing is that we use our fortify pretty late here. Looks like, right? So we have both shield and fortify that could potentially keep us alive, but we end up using them. Okay, so we don't end up reshielding. If we reshielded, then that keeps us alive. Fortify, I think it was used fine. We just got headshot out of it, right? So we got melted. So just a little bit late of a backup. Didn't use shield, right? And then we died as a result. So we just want to take a look at our
Yeah.
deaths. As deaths usually gonna be pretty bad for us. Obviously, this sets up a snowball where they because we died, now our team's dying, and then we lose the fight, and then now we might end up losing the next fight because of that, right? And then because they have an ult advantage. So deaths, obviously not very good. We want to try to cut out as many of them as we can, so we'll keep taking a look at our deaths.
Don't worry, my friend. I am your shield.
Very nice.
Everyone else is a nail. Get behind me.
All right, so 1 second. So if I take a look over at Fiverr, so you play mainly Reinhardt, Wrecking Ball, and Orisa. Is that kind of the
Yeah,
setup?
those are the characters that I was mainly looking to get coaching on, and Reinhardt is probably my most played character that I don't feel confident on. Like I feel like I play a lot of Rhine because I think the team needs it, but
Oh,
and then whenever I do play it, I don't feel super terribly comfortable on it.
all right.
And it's like, well, I feel like I need some improvements, especially I feel like my positioning is usually awful. I feel like I get killed a lot, and it's mainly just I don't know if I'm in bad positioning or if I'm failing to understand where my team is. But
All right.
yeah, no, I die a
So
lot.
right here, the first thing I'm noticing is a lack in. So we'll talk about aggression here, but are you familiar with shield hopping at all?
I mean, I am. I've never practiced it much. I
All
need to
right.
do that more.
So I would recommend practicing, and then we're gonna go over like when that is applicable. So we're at 146. Reinhardt is a brawl character, right? He likes to swing on stuff. If he's not swinging on things, then he's not doing his job as a character because if you're just sitting there and hard shielding, Sigma and Orisa do a much better job of that because they can actually shoot and shield. Reinhardt cannot shoot and shield; he can only do one or the other. So Reinhardt likes to get in on top of things as fast as possible. And a lot of the times there we were just kind of sitting around, right? Which is fine after we got naded, but then once we weren't naded, then we wanted to push in. And keep in mind that shield hopping is how you push in fast or back out fast. So anytime we're trying to move from point A to point B at a fast pacing, we're not just going to run forwards because then we're just going to get shredded and we're going to die, right? Because we're taking a bunch of damage. And we're not just going to hard shield and walk forwards because this is very slow. And in fact, this is going to mean that we're taking even more damage because we're moving slower in, which gives them more time to shoot. And then our shield's going to get melted by the time we get there. But what we go for something in the middle where we shield hop. So that's going to mean that you jump and shield at the same time, right? So it's just going to be something like this, right? We can keep the pacing up, but we're going to just hold W, jump and shield, and then drop, right? And then just keep doing that over and over again. And this does two things for you. This allows you to move at a slightly faster pace than just doing this, right? Is also going to rotate damage in between your health and your team's health and your shield, right? This keeps your shield up alive longer, and it also means that it's not going to be enough damage most of the time for anybody on your team to die. Now, of course, if you are low or your team's low, then you can hard shield, right? If you see anybody's behind you and they're low HP, then you shield up. But when we're just trying to get in fast, we're going to want to use the shield hop to get in. If we need to back up fast for whatever reason, like let's say they started ulting, then we can like go like this, right? And do it backwards. So we can get out fast, and then of course, like I said before, if we're needing to block specific abilities, if we're needing to block ultimates, or if we're needing to keep someone on our team who's low HP alive, then we can hard shield, right? But for the most part there, we were just kind of sitting around doing this, right? And then just kind of slowly walking forwards like this, right? And then just kind of hard shield botting, right? And that's not what Reinhardt does. Reinhardt wants to be aggressive in doing things. He doesn't want to just be shield botting.
Okay.
Right. So we were on Rialto.
I never really thought about the point about mixing what's taking damage between your health pool and your shield pool. I never really thought about that actual
Yep.
dynamic of it.
That's just a smaller part of it. Honestly, that's not the big part of it. The big part is that you're moving at a faster pace while also getting a shield in, right? So here, let's see, why we die. So we got nanoed. So we move in. You're gonna notice how like we're hard shielding across, which means that they have more time to spam us. So we're about to get naded here in a second, which is fine. So we back up while we're naded. All good. All right, just that's fine. Then now that the nade's gone, we should probably be getting aggressive here because we have our shield. They're down a bunch of people, right? They have 3 people alive, and we have most of our team alive. Actually, sorry, they have a tracer in the backline that I did not see. But we have the advantage here, so we should probably be looking to get aggressive right about now. But let's see. It kind of looks like we're kind of just sitting here, right, chilling. We're not getting aggressive. We're just kind of sitting on the corner, right? And that gives them time now to regroup up. Now they have their entire team back, and Tracer gets back and gets a pulse off, right? So we didn't push on the advantage. So why don't we talk about how to tell whether you have that advantage in the first place or not? Now, so that'd be a pretty important topic to go over. So how you tell whether or not you're winning or losing a fight is kill feed, right? The top right corner of your screen, that thing's going to show you when you're up or down people. When your team is up 1 to 2 people, right, that is an advantage. When you have an advantage, you can play more aggressively because you can afford to get away with more, right? So for example, that would be this situation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3, right? And then we won't include Tracer over here because she's not really in the fight. Right? So right now we're up 2 whole people, which means that we're at a pretty significant advantage. Therefore, we can play really aggressively and get away with it because they have less people to shoot at us. Okay, now when we're up 2 to 3 people, that is pretty much a 1 fight. In this situation, this is either a very significant advantage or even could be a 1 fight. Right? Now, when we've won a fight, we don't want to use ults because, of course, that'd just be overkill. And then we wouldn't have it for the next fight. And then on top of that, we want to play super aggressively so we can stagger the enemy team. And then if we don't play aggressively, then this is what happens: is we just don't play aggressively, and then they get their players back, and then now we lost our advantage, and now they just have all their players back, right? So now it's an even fight where it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, or whatever, like they're all their players 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Or I usually count Baby Eva as half a player. That's just a good way to count it. So it'd be 5.5 versus 5 or versus 6, right? So now it's an even fight because we didn't press on our advantage. Now, keep in mind, this also goes the exact opposite way. When you are down 1 to 2, that is a disadvantage. You didn't lose the fight, but you want to play a little bit more passive because you are losing the fight. When you are down 2 to 3 people, that is a pretty much a lost fight. At that point, you don't want to use any ults. You want to look to get out if possible, and if you can't get out, then you want to look to just let them kill you, right? And then that will prevent you from staggering. Are you familiar with the term staggering?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So then let's just continue. You see here, like, we didn't push on our advantage, therefore the advantage is lost. And then they get a pick to start it off. All right. So probably don't want to spend too much time swinging a monkey, but I like it. I like the fact that we came around here and tried to go for everyone else. That's good. Here we see that we're 200 HP and we are getting shot at, and we have a monkey on top of us. Yet we put our shield down and start swinging, right? And then we die as a result, right? So here we want to make sure we're paying attention. This is an awareness death, so most deaths, like 75% of deaths, you can fix something off of, right? Not all of them. 25% of them you're not going to be able to do much with, right? And sometimes it's actually a good idea to die, but this death could have been pretty easily preventable if we're paying attention to our health bar, right? So different things you can pay attention to, right? For the first step to improvement, and this is how, I improved at the game. I didn't get coaching up until I had already hit my peak. So I went from 1800 to 4468. Using this is just basically step one is you look for the mistake, right? Why did I die? You can some causes of deaths would be being out of position, not being aware of your environment, using your abilities wrong, or being too aggressive or too passive or something like that, right? So those are some different types of reasons for why you could be dying. Could be a combination of those reasons. So you're identifying why, right? So in this instance, we died because we, one, did not pay attention to our health bar, and two, we misused our shield because we dropped it, right? And we also got too aggressive while we didn't have health. So it's just a little bit, and then that all stemmed from our aggression, or sorry, from our awareness. Sorry, my words aren't working right now. So that was an awareness death with a tiny little bit of shielding and a tiny little bit of aggression mixed in there, right? So now that we've fixed step one, right? We've accomplished step one. We found what the mistake was. Step two is identifying what could we have done instead. What's the solution to the mistake, right? So in this instance, the solution to the mistake would have been paying attention to our health bar. We have a ton of different things that tell us, hey, we need to take a look at our health bar, right? So when we are taking damage, all right, let's wait till we take some damage. Right, so when you take damage, you're going to notice a few different things. First off, you see a ton of different things on your screen. So right next to your crosshair, you're going to see the direction from which you took damage. Widow just sniped us from the right side, so we're going to see a red marker to the right. On the top right corner of your screen, again, you're going to see the right side being shot from the top right. And sure enough, Widow's to our right, right? So those are both visual indicators that we're being shot at. We also hear Reinhardt's going to make some grunting and groaning sounds where you're going, right? Gives us, again, audio indicators, right? We're also going to see that when we're super low, our whole screen's going to go red, right? We're also going to see on top, like when we see all of those different indicators and we hear ourselves getting damaged and we see that we walked into a mine, those are all different indicators that we need to pay attention to our health bar. And when we pay attention to our health bar, then we don't die there, right? So the solution is paying attention to our health bar, and when we do that, then we're going to be able to stay alive here. And then that means that in the third step is application, is applying that to the future, right? And making sure we're doing it. And from what you were saying before, maybe with mental, is application maybe something that you're struggling a little bit with?
Well, a bit. Sometimes I do make pretty blatant mistakes like that.
Okay, yep. So let's just talk on application for a little bit, all right? You might be saying, Boogie, well, um, awareness seems like kind of a little bit of a weird thing to to know how to improve on. It doesn't seem like it's as easy as knowing where to stand or knowing when to chatter or something like that. Like how do I improve on awareness? Well, you improve on awareness the same way that you're improving on anything else that you're looking to improve on. And that is, while you're playing, you're going to make sure that you're focusing on the thing you're trying to improve on, not just autopiloting, not just focusing on winning, because if we're just focusing on winning, we're actually going to lose more in the long run. Instead, we focus on improvement, right? And we focus on the thing we're trying to improve on, and that's how we win in the long run. So when we do that, our brain's going to look something like this, where we're going awareness, 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 right? And when we constantly are reminding ourselves and putting effort and focus and paying attention to our surroundings and our awareness, you're going to notice that our awareness starts to look a little bit better, right? It starts to do a little bit better. Now, when that keeps up for a long enough period of time, that's going to form as a habit. So now we have good habits of looking around us and paying attention to our environment. And now we no longer have to put in the same reminders. We don't have to put in the same effort or focus, and we can put that effort and focus into a different area to improve on and work on, right? And that's the cycle of improvement of how you look to focus on something and work on it, is you make sure you're really, really focusing on the thing you're trying to work on. Now, don't try to do that we're going to talk about quite a bit of things here. Don't try to do that for everything, because that's going to get overwhelming. Instead, try to focus on like one category of things, or maybe 1 to 3 tinier things, right? Not everything all at once. That all makes sense?
Yes.
All right, so let's continue. Death here, possibly winnable fight if we don't die, right? So obviously, again, death equals bad. All right.
Come out and face
Good decision to back up, and we're saving our team here. Don't soak up random spam damage when it's unnecessary. So here we just take a bunch of shield damage when it's just, you know, D.Va sitting there spamming down our shields, right? We are, at the moment, the fight has not started, right? So right now, we're still waiting for our entire team to get back, right? So we don't even have a reason to be peeking right now. We could just be around this corner over here and be completely fine, right? But we have no reason to be peeking. We're soaking up meaningless spam, so nobody's low here. We're not, or at least when we're shielding here in a moment. McCree's low there, but right here, right? Nobody's low. McCree's back to full HP. Nobody is, you're not blocking abilities, you're not blocking ultimates, right? Therefore, this is just spam damage. They're just going pew, 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 pew into our shield, and we're taking a bunch of damage for it. When that means that now, if we're trying to get aggressive, we have no shield to back it up, right? We want to get aggressive when we have our health and we have our shield health, and we want to play passive when we don't have our shield health and when we don't have our shield, when we don't have our health, right? But here we're just soaking up a lot of unnecessary damage when we could just, you know, be around the corner, not having shield up, and then that means that we don't even have shield by the time the actual fight starts, right? So now we just don't have a shield, and like now at this point the fight is starting, right? Up until then, this is all just poking, right? There's a difference between the poke fight and the actual fight, right? The poke fight is where people are just going pew 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 from a little bit further away, right? And they're not really engaging. But once picks have started flying, once the teams, like the main tanks, have like gotten close to each other and the teams are a lot closer to brawling, that is when the fight started. The fight has started pretty much now. McCree just died, and the enemy Winston is on top of you, right? But you notice here that as the fight's beginning, we have zero shield. The shield just broke, right? On top of that, try not to ever let your shield break. That's not usually a thing you want to happen, because first off, it's a longer cooldown where you just don't have it at all, and you always kind of want an emergency shield available, unless you don't never want it to break unless it is your emergency shield that is breaking, but you want the emergency shield so you can block ultimates and abilities that are potentially going to kill people, right? So let's say you usually want to cut it out around like 300 or something like that, right? So like you always want to have an emergency 300 shields left, so that way if you're 1 HP you can put up shield real quick. If you're trying to block a shatter, you can put up shield real quick. If you're trying to block a bomb or something else, big ability ultimate, right, that you're trying to save someone's life with, you have that emergency shield to go with. But if you just hold it up until it's dead, then we don't have it for 5 seconds, right? And that means we can't shield anything for 5 seconds straight. So that's, or at least, or maybe even 6 seconds, because I think we're already second into it. Very massive shatter. All right. Really, really good. All right. We're at 3 minutes. We're just going over something real quick from what I've noticed with our swinging. So when it comes to our swinging, there's a few different techie things we can go over here real quick. So we're gonna try to find this real quick. It might take me a second to find this. All right. Come on. Nope. Come on. I'm trying to find the range here. One moment. All right, there we go. So, Reinhardt actually has a larger hit box radius when he's swinging at the side of somebody rather than when he's swinging straight on somebody. So you're gonna notice here. Oh, come on! It stopped doing it. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so you're gonna notice here how we can actually hit people from the sides, but not straight on, right? Specifically, it's looking like when I'm crouched here, but you're going to notice that I can't hit him straight on. I look to the side, and now I can't hit him, right? So you actually have a bigger hit radius when you're swinging from the side. So when you are swinging at people, you're not going to want to stare straight at them. The other probably even more massive reason than this is because you can hit multiple people. If we're just staring straight at the person we're trying to hit, we hit one person. When we are instead angling our camera like this, we can actually hit more than one person, and even on top of that, we can get even a bigger swing radius in by swinging our camera with our hammer. So you're gonna know how you're gonna want to do this is you're just gonna want to go with the kind of the flow of where the hammer's going. So just hammer's going left, we can't swing left, right? Camera's left, camera's right, camera's left, camera's right, camera's left, camera's right. And what this does is it means that you're hitting multiple people, and you can even do this to such an extent to where you can actually hit people on a complete 180. So here we can actually hit both of these guys right here, even though they're completely opposite directions from each other, right? So this is how you hit multiple people at once, and this is what you call cleave damage, where we're doing damage to multiple people, and very obviously, doing damage to a bunch of different people all at the same time is going to be a lot more effective than doing damage to one person at a time, right? You're doing a whole lot more if you're hitting 3 people at once, 4 people at once, than if you're hitting one person at the same time.
Huh, that's interesting.
All right. So you're pretty much going to be using that like whenever you're just swinging on something, almost every time. All right, so we skip back to where we were. We were, so were we before this? Yeah, I think we're right here. All right, so notice how we just like, you know, when there were like a few things just like right here clumped up together. So let's watch this real quick. So we land the shatter. Like here we just be swinging it around so we can hit as many people as possible. All right, and then you're gonna notice here we push on the monkey, and right here there's a couple people closer together. Like here, like from where we're standing, we could probably hit like the monkey and the tracer at the same time, or the monkey, and we could keep this swing going and then hit the baby diva, right? And that would maybe kill the diva. Actually, I don't know if she's within your radius, but I'm just giving like, you know, maybe that's something we could at least aim to try to do, right? Okay, good aggression. We use our shield. Alright, so here, let's see. So we end up shielding a little bit late. I think we just, our reaction to the I think this is fine. It's just that our reaction to Tracer blinking around this was slightly slow, and then that meant to let her get a whole clip into us there. So we just reacted slightly slow, and that was it. So like, here we just didn't see the Tracer was to our right, and then that meant that we let her get a whole clip into us, and then we died as a result. But honestly, not that like that. Out of the deaths we've had so far, that one wasn't the worst. Okay, I like that we're charging out of spawn. That's really good. All right, so we'll give it another like couple minutes here or so, and then we'll talk. I'll do a quick. Oh, I didn't mean to skip. And then I'll do a quick strengths and weaknesses of like what I'm looking at so far. Okay, we're sitting around a little bit here. Again, just soaking up spam damage. Just soaking up spam damage, right? So, again, in this instant, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mainly there was a call to shield for the widow so Alana could try shooting her.
Okay. So okay, well then in that instance, that's a little bit different, right? That's information that I wasn't aware of. So if you're Ana specifically trying to duel the widow, then that's fine, completely fine. All right, we just don't want to make that a habit of it to do that when it's on option. Oh come on, man! I'm sorry. It's right next to the pause button. It happens every time. All right, just where were we? It's right here. All right. Really massive shatter. Go for the fire strike there because you can actually hit Lucio and the Widow. So notice when you land this how far away the two are. So Lucio and Widow are really far away from each other here when you slam them. So if you were to fire strike from this angle, you could only hit one or the other, right? You could only hit Widow or Lucio. So even if you position yourself like this, you would be, because you're angled at the floor, it would just hit Lucio. So what you do is you crouch, and when you crouch, this actually puts you at a lower angle. And now this means that you can fire strike and hit both Lucio and the Widowmaker, right? The other thing you could do is you could charge it to, you could kill Lucio and then charge over to the Widowmaker if Widowmaker's that far away. I don't think that a fire strike would actually kill her or just put her at 1 HP there, but you could fire strike both of them. That would probably kill Lucio, and then you could charge through them both, and then that would end up probably getting both of them here. Whereas here we just get the Lucio and we kind of settle when we could have gone for both of them. Okay. And then here we stay getting aggressive when we're low HP and being pressured. keep in mind your line of sight of your team. This is completely fine right here because we shattered them, but pay attention to where your team's at, because going on into this room, we don't have any team support because it cuts out of their line of sight. The other thing here is that we're not paying attention to our health. When we see that we're pretty low, we just don't want to be getting super aggressive. So we see that we sorry, my stuttering right now. When we see that we dip below 300 HP, right, that's where we're going, okay, probably need to shield, right? Here we just keep swinging. I think we're trying to get the diva out, but then we just walk in slightly too far, and then we die as a result. So that's 4 deaths now in 4 minutes. So why don't we talk about survivability real quick, because it is important. So let's just say that keeps up at that rate, and we have 1 death a minute for the entire game. That is 21 deaths, right? Obviously now there's going to be we'll take like 2-3 minutes. It's a 20-minute game, so let's say that there's a lot of spawn time as well. So let's take 4 minutes out of that, and let's say it's 17 deaths. That's still a lot of deaths, right? That's really like on the bad side of deaths. That's a very terrible rate to have, and that means that we're dying quite frequently. So to put that into perspective, let's just break out a calculator real quick. Every single death that you have, it is 10 seconds of respawn time and roughly 10 seconds of walkback time, right? That means that every death you have is 20 seconds, where not only are you just not participating and being active, but you're also, like we talked about before, putting your team at a active disadvantage, which is probably going to end up in, or will end up in, lost fights and disadvantages, which puts your team at a disadvantage. So each death isn't just a lack of value, it's also negative value, where we're actually putting our team and losing the match for our team because we keep on dying, right? And we're feeding ult charge, and we're giving them an advantage. We're also losing morale for our team, right? So let's just say 17 deaths. That's probably not going to be your average every game, but let's just say 17 deaths, right? Times 20, right? And then divided by 60. That means that we are active. If that was our current rate for the entire game here, that means that we did not participate in this match for an entire 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Right? Just wrap your brain around that for a second. 5 minutes and 40 seconds where you were dead in spawn and respawning because of the fact that we died that frequently. Right? That means that in that time we could have had like 4 or 5 ultimates, right? In that time we could be shielding, protecting, damaging, killing things, right? Being active in fights, participating, right? Deaths are bad. We want to look to cut deaths out. And even if we had something like 10 deaths, we want to look to cut them out. So let's say I guess we'll stay with our number. Let's just say 17, right? And let's say we cut out 3 deaths from that. Now, it's still a pretty bad death ratio, but 3 deaths is an entire minute. So now we've gone from 5 minutes and 40 seconds down to 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, that's still, much significantly better than what we were at before, even if it's still a pretty bad KD, right? Now we take out an extra 3. Now we're at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Probably still could be better, right? You're probably going to find that your best games are where you're at below like 5 deaths, right? But you're still getting better and better as you lose, and when you die, less and less. So we really need to concentrate on survivability and just staying alive, right? And now I just want to be clear here. I don't want you to take this in the complete opposite direction. There is a way that you could go about survivability that means that you can still be aggressive, right? And it's about knowing, when can I get aggressive? When do I have to play passive? If you're just all of a sudden playing way too passive, then that means that you're not really going to get as much value as you could be getting, right? So the equivalent would be, you could sit and spawn and have 0 deaths, but be doing nothing, right? You could be producing nothing. You'd have no output. So we want to make sure that we're staying alive while also continuing to do things, which comes down to, again, like we talked about, better positioning, better awareness, understanding when to get aggressive, and how to use our abilities, right? Here, again, in this death, remind us, right? We died because of the fact that we were unaware of our health, and we got too greedy, and we walked into a room where we were out of position, right? So deaths. Okay, so now why don't we talk about strength and weaknesses real quick, since we are like 40 minutes in real quick. I usually split it up into 5 different categories, so we'll just go through them real quick. Ability usage, honestly, I don't think is too bad. I think charge we've been using pretty decently. I don't think I've seen us use it on anybody besides just charging out a spawn. But I mean, as long usually it's fine as long as we're not dying to it. You'll find situations where you can use it a little bit better the more you get used to it. The big thing is just keep in mind you can charge as long as it's into something close to you, right? If we're charging like from here to there, this means that we're going to come out of the animation instantaneously, and it means that it's not a risky charge. But if we're charging from here to here, that's much longer in it. It gives them more time to shoot at us, more time for them to stun us, and therefore it's going to be pretty bad for us. Now, charge is going to be 3 times better with the Overwatch 2 news that they announced yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, but they're going to be in Overwatch. What do you say?
You can cancel it.
Yeah, you can cancel it, and you can also control it a little bit better. Yeah, but at the go ahead.
I said that's if we ever get Overwatch 2.
Yeah, which I mean, hopefully it'll come out, within a year or so, ish. But we'll see. In any case, right now, charges you don't want to charge at longer distances, but you do want to charge it at short distances because it does do a lot of burst damage, especially to tanks. Or you can also charge if you're trying to fit, like for example, follow up on the Widowmaker who is too far away in your shatter. So fire strikes, nah, at least I haven't seen any problems with them so far. Shielding, maybe a little bit. I do want to see some better shield management. So probably ability-wise, I'd say we're kind of in the medium category with it. Ultimates, honestly, really great. Best thing I've seen so far out of all of your gameplay. We used them fast. We had good timing with them. We didn't use them in fights where they were won or lost. And we got multiple people with each shatter. So shatter's looking great so far. And then on from there, mechanics, not really a thing on Reinhardt. And then from the second that I saw you on Orisa, they weren't too terrible. So not even going to talk about mechanics. And then now we get into awareness and positioning. I'd probably say awareness. How do you say this? So awareness and positioning, I probably put in the medium categories, and then actually for the number one thing, I don't usually have these as a thing, but I'm gonna kind of put as number one so far of what we're looking at is aggression and survivability being kind of the number one category, and then awareness usually is gonna feed into aggression because you can't know when do I play aggressive or when do I play passive if we don't understand what's happening in our environment. So that's kind of where everything's standing at the moment and your kind of strengths and weaknesses. So let's continue on. Okay, yes, get aggressive, really good. Alright, so oftentimes it's seeming like we're actively seeking out the tanks, so why don't we talk about target priority real quick. So in general, tanks aren't what we want to swing on or shoot at because tanks have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have movement abilities and they have shields and they have defensive abilities. So therefore, they are very difficult to kill. On top of that, they are not the role that has statistical output. Now, don't get me wrong, tanks do have a very, very important role in the game, but their role is to create space for the DPS and supports, whereas the DPS do the damage and the supports do the healing. Therefore, they're the characters that have statistical output, and they are the ones that we want to eliminate from the game, right? So most of the time when you have an equal opportunity, meaning let's say that there's a Lucio right on our left and there's a D.Va or a Monkey right on our right, we'd go for the Lucio, not the D.Va or the Monkey, because he's the easier thing to kill who gets more value, right? So in general, a lot of the times we've been focusing the tanks. We just probably want to turn that a little bit more towards the supports and the DPS, not just focusing on the tanks all the time. Now, it's not to say that we never look at tanks, right? We look at tanks when they are low. We look at tanks when they're out of position. We look at tanks when they are the only thing to look at, right? Which a lot of the time on Reinhardt, that's going to be the case, especially like if they have an enemy Reinhardt, right? How are you going to get past the enemy Reinhardt without hitting the Reinhardt, right? That's not really going to be a thing on Reinhardt. Now, you're going to be able to do that on other characters, but if you're playing Reinhardt into another Reinhardt, he's kind of what you have to smack because he's blocking you from getting to them. Now, here in this instance, we kind of we got ulted. Oh, sorry, I skipped way too far back. We got nanoed, right? And we killed something, and then we actually hesitated and went and turned around and went for the monkey, which we probably should have just kept walking at the rest of the team. All right, so here we got nanoed, we got a pick. But notice how we get booped back, and then we just completely give up on these guys, right? These guys are so, like, we have a speed boost here. I'm pretty, actually, wait, do we have a Lucio? I'm dumb. No, we don't have it. We have Zenyatta, right?
I didn't think I had to be honest.
Didn't think you'd catch them. At the very least, you rushing them, right, creates space to where now they can't do anything, right? If we push them around this corner, right, they can't shoot at your team. Diva's not gonna be able to get her mech back, and it means that your team can now punish the monkey, right? So therefore, you pushing, pushing forwards essentially helps kill monkey without even swinging on monkey. Whereas here we kind of like turn around and go back for the monkey, and then notice how like we catch up to them anyways. We're pretty much on top of them here, right? We were almost able to swing on them, and just had we been running for an extra 2 seconds, we probably could have caught them, right? So here we're running on the wrong things. All right, good job backing up to your team. Now we probably want to be getting aggressive to get some stagger kills. All right.
I had no idea where that Lucio went, to be honest.
Alright, notice again how we're just soaking up a bunch of spam damage. We're coming into the fight, 0 shield. And again, remember, shield is how we get aggressive. We can't get aggressive, right? Because if we, for example, let's just do a hypothetical here. Let's say they burn down our entire shield, and we have 0 shield by the time this fight starts. Now, how can we be expected to push and swing into their team and their Winston? Because now if we try to do that, then we are just gonna get shredded because we don't have a shield to back away, right? They're gonna get our health low, and then we're gonna say, okay, we're at 200 HP. Let me put up my shield. Oh wait, I don't have shield, right? And then now we can't back out. And then the alternative to that is we just don't push in at all. And if we don't push in at all, then we now are not doing our job on Reinhardt, because like we discussed before, Reinhardt's a brawl character and he wants to be able to push in, right? So most of the time here, you're not going to want to just hold it up and take in spam damage. The only time we'd be doing this is if the fight has started and we're actively participating in the fight, not just taking spam before the fight starts. Okay, so that's good. We actually do recharge it before the fight begins here. Alright. There looks like they kind of out-ulted you guys, and also missed a charge on him.
This is not over. Come out and face me.
Massive shatter, but we get shredded. Alright, so let's see. Why do we get shredded? So, in this instance, it looks like what happened to our health. So we're over here, we're shielding. Alright, so that one, honestly, I'm not going to put on much of you. Again, that's an unlucky death. We kind of just lost all of our health. But the other thing here is we potentially could have just not be swinging, especially if we see that we don't have our other tank here with us, as our other tank at the moment is a baby diva. So if we see we don't have our other tank here, we might want to be a little bit more careful. So in this instance, we could probably leave it up to our team to just break the bubble, because we see how low it is, right? So we let them break it. We hold up our hard shield, because here when we go for the shatter, we're kind of out in the open. We're already down a couple hundred HP. We shatter, and then here we just don't pay attention to our HP. If we put up our shield immediately after we shattered here, we could have stayed alive. But then we don't. We notice how we fire strike right afterwards, and then that means we die. So 2 tiny little things here is, 1, we just take a little bit of extra poke at the very beginning, and then 2 is we don't put up our shield immediately after we shatter, because we didn't notice our health bar. So just tiny little things like that to our death, and we need to be really, really careful, because again, we're kind of keeping up our rate here of 1 death a minute, which, as we talked about before, is a pretty trash rate to have, right? 1 death a minute is very, very high, especially if you're comparing that to any game, because that means that in a in a 21-minute game, right, you're having like 17 deaths, which is a very, very bad death rate to have. And then now your team's at a disadvantage, and even though we landed a big shatter, you notice that we don't win the fight because we just have less follow-up on it, and we don't have a tank. So massive shatters, but we have struggled staying alive. Okay, notice the slow walk in. Instead, what we could be doing is we could be approaching from the right here, so we don't even need to shield, right? That way we have our shield when we're right here and we have it at full HP. The other thing is look to shield hop in, right? So that we probably don't need to just walk in through main here. Look to hug cover more often. I think we're also going to talk about positioning real quick here. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. If we are standing right here, right, or I guess let's say we're standing right here, and they all start shooting at us, it takes us 1, 2, right, seconds to get behind cover, right, till we get over here. Now, by the time we get over here, we ended up dying because they melted our shield, and you saw before how you died in 0.5 seconds, right, or you died in half a second, or you died incredibly fast there. Now, from here, if we start getting shot at, right, and we trying to swing, then that means that it takes us half a second to duck behind cover, right? So we actually have time to duck behind cover and negate all damage because you can't shoot through solid objects because we're using cover properly, right? Now on top of that, there's a ton of different types of cover. Like you have pillars, you have little boxes and crates you find around. Payload acts as cover, right? You have corners, you have high grounds, all act as cover, right? So if they're below us here, they see us, now they can't see us because we back away from the ledge. So all high ground acts as cover. So we just want to make sure we're utilizing cover and not standing out in the open. That's actually what happened here was we were standing out in the open, which is excusable because of the fact that we landed a big shatter, but that's why we melted so fast, was because we were standing out in the open. Notice other things, benefits that we get when we're behind walls is when we're shielding right here, half of our shield's going to be inside of the wall. And when half of our shield is inside of the wall here, that means that they can only shoot at the left side of it, and that means that our shield's going to be taking a lot less spam damage, and therefore it's going to stay alive longer. The other benefit we get from this is it actually encourages our team to position well as well, right? When we're standing on the open, right, as Reinhardt, out of any character on our team, we have the most say in where our team is positioned. Zenyatta does not have a say in where our team is positioned. We do have a say in where our team is positioned. Our team, for the most part, not all the time, but they are going to, for the most part, follow you around and go where you are. If we're standing out in the open, they're going to stand out in the open behind us. If we're standing over near cover, they're going to stand over near cover as well, right? So a lot of different reasons why we need to make sure we're taking cover, and here we're just standing out in the open, and earlier we're standing out in the open, right? So we just want to make sure we're using cover a little bit more properly. All right, so now we're using cover, but again, now we're just kind of sitting and taking a bunch of shield spam damage, which means we don't have any shield left, and then we're getting aggressive when we don't have shield. Right, so in this instance, I don't see anything wrong with doing a aggressive charge, especially like at the very beginning here when we first get nanoed. But again, when we get nanoed, pay attention to the line of sight of your team. So when we turn this corner, is our team able to see us? Where's our team at?
Running the corner was a bad idea.
Yep. And on top of that, they beat, right? So this would be completely fine had they not beat it, because then we just shred through them. We get Lucio, we get Ash, right? Maybe we turn around and get the I thought that was an Ana. We can get like the tanks here, right? This is completely fine if they didn't beat, but now they beat it, right? Now we're swinging into something that we can't kill. They're essentially invincible, right? This would be the same thing as if they trance, that we just keep swinging, right? And then now we don't kill anything and we just end up dying. So as soon as we see this beat, we should probably be backing up and getting back to our team, right? Maybe we could just decide to like swing on some stuff and fire strike while we're backing up, but instead we go all in and we get way too aggressive. So again, not addressing where this is a lack of awareness. When we have a lack of awareness, we cannot make good decisions, and we make the decision instead to charge in and get even more aggressive, putting us even more out of position, and as a result, we die. Again, keeping up our 1 death per minute kind of ratio here, and so far we've died like 7, 8 times. Actually, I think this is 7 or 8 times, right? Within 7 minutes. So that's a pretty bad death rate to have, and that means that we're losing a ton of value here. All right, now we're going to actually exit out here and go to the practice range. Now here we're going to do a review over everything we've talked about, and then we're going to go over the main points as well as the wrap up to the session. So first off, we'll just swap to Reinhardt. So charges, not terrible. We're doing pretty good. I like that we charge out of spawn, but just keep in mind that you can look to use it when you're at close ranges to people. Just make sure you're not doing medium or long distance charges, because that's gonna get you killed. But I haven't really seen us use it like when we're just right next to somebody, because if we charge when we're like right here on somebody, right, you're able to instantly get out of it, right? But we haven't really gone for that at all, so just make sure you're looking to use it, like, in fights still once in a while, right? It is applicable. Fire Strike, honestly, I didn't see any problem with it. Good Fire Strikes. Shielding, though, that was one of the big ones in our ability usage. We did have a big misuse of our shield. Make sure that you're not just soaking up random spam damage, right? So our play style looked kind of like this, where let's say the enemy team's on point over here, and we're right here. We would just kind of sit here and shield, and then we wouldn't have shield, and then we'd sit here, and maybe we'd swing a little bit, but now we wouldn't have shield, and then now we die. We're getting shot at, and we die, and we don't have a shield to back up, right? Whereas what we should be doing is we should get aggressive when we have our health and we have our shield. So we're going in aggro, right? We're doing things, right? We're getting aggressive. Now we see our health is half, so we shield up. We have all of our shield this time, and we just back up. Now here we can recharge our health and recharge our shield, and then we can get aggressive again and do the same thing. Right, so our kind of order is backwards, where we're kind of playing passive to start and then playing aggressive, whereas you're going to want to play aggressive as when you have your abilities, or if they're too far away to play aggressive, then you just don't want to even be shielding at all, right? You just duck around the corner and wait for them to come to you. So shield management needs a lot of work. Make sure you're not letting it go all the way down, so you want to keep it when it's at, like, always try to keep it like 300 emergency shield. That way you don't get shattered or bombed, or you have some emergency shield if you or your teammates need it to, like, stay alive, right? Don't let it go all the way down to 0. And then moving on, shatters, fantastic, best part of your kit by far. Out of all of the ones that we used, I think I only saw us use 2, I think. But out of the ones that we used, we landed both of them, and we had really good timing for them, so no problems there. Keep that up. Do it consistently. Right. Now moving on to our positioning. Positioning-wise, make sure that we are, okay, I'm trying to think here. Positioning-wise, yeah, just make sure we're not standing on the open. If we are standing here, right, this is bad positioning, because it takes us a bunch of seconds to get back to cover, right? But over here, we're completely safe, right? That means, therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? On top of that, when we hold corners as well, right, half our shield goes around the wall. On top of that, it encourages our team to play cover as well, which encourages good positioning for everybody and means that we're all going to be dying a whole lot less. On top of that, make sure that we're not holding it in front of no man's land, right? And we're backing up a little bit faster when you're on Orisa there. And then besides that, don't push out a line of sight of your team. You did that twice and you died as a result, right? Make sure you're not going off on your own, but you're making sure your team can see you. And if your team's not going with you, don't get aggressive, right? So if our entire team is standing over here, don't run into this room on your own and do things, right? And stay in here for too long. Maybe you can, like, peek in here for a second. Sorry, I had to cough there for a second. So you can peek in here for a second, but that's about it. Right? No, you don't want to stay in here. Right. Now let's see. That is pretty much it for positioning. As well as just keep in mind high grounds are fantastic as well. Awareness. Tons of things to go into awareness. So let's just go down the list real quick. Pay attention to your health bar, right? Pay attention to your shield health as well. So that's HUD watching, making sure we're paying attention to those two things is going to be incredibly important, as it didn't really seem like we paid attention to it, and that affected our aggression a whole lot, right? So when you have health and we have shields, you play aggressive. When you don't have them, you play passive. So pay attention to them. Put up your shield when you're below, like, when you're usually around like half HP, right? So after all your armor goes away, or like you're at like 300 or 200-ish, that's where you're shielding up, and sometimes we just shielded up way too late, and that results in us dying. And then besides that, pay attention to the kill feed, right? We talked about how to know whether or not a fight's won or lost, so pay attention to when it's won or lost, so we can, again, that's going to dictate your aggression. Keep, as a quick reminder, 1 to 2 is a advantage or disadvantage. You play aggressive or passive accordingly. When it's 2 to 3, that is a won or lost fight, and at that point, you're looking to get super aggressive, right? Or look to get out and regroup, or if you can't get out, you want to let them kill you. And also keep in mind, you don't want to ult or in a won or lost fight, though I didn't see any problem with that in the games that we saw. All right. On from there, we have some more awareness of, where is the enemy team at and where is my team at. Right. We want to make sure that we're not running, we're not getting aggressive when we don't have any team support, and we want to make sure we're not playing passive when they don't have any enemies with them. So again, pay attention to, where is my team at? Where's the enemy team at? If you need some help paying attention where your team is at, right? You want to make sure that you can use your left click to look behind you while you're shielding, right? That's one that you can use, but you can also just look around you. So especially when you're about to push forwards aggressively, right? So when we're on this corner, I'm about to push forwards, we can do this real quick. Look around us, see, is my team here with me? Yes, they are. Okay, let's go. Is my team here with me? No, they're not. Okay, let's wait here a second, right? So anytime you're about to push in, check real quick. On top of that, just make sure you're not walking around doing slow pans, right, where we're just kind of walking and then walking and then walking and turning. But instead, we're looking left, we're looking right, we're doing a 360 once in a while, we're just paying attention to our surroundings, right? Pay attention to your audio cues, right? There's a bunch of times where we were like low HP and we just didn't see that we were low HP because we weren't paying attention to it. And then I think that is it out of things, awareness things we talked about. Some other tinier things that we didn't mention, with your shield hopping, just make sure shield hopping as well when you're trying to get super aggressive or when you're trying to back out, right? When you're trying to take a bunch of space, you want to look to go from one piece of cover to the next piece of cover. So we're trying to get over the point there. We're not just gonna hard shield as we walk down lane here, right? Instead, we're going to go from this and we're gonna shield hop over to this side over here, right? And then now we're over here, we're going to recharge some health and recharge some shields, and then we're going to go over to this over here, right? And again, using cover, and then we're going to recharge a little bit, and then now we're going to get aggressive and go in, right? So that's how you want to be looking to approach things. Shield hop out if you need to. Hard shield only if you're low or your team's low or you're blocking something. Alright, besides that, just real quick, no mechanics things, but the only thing I would put in that kind of category is just making sure you're shooting at the right things, so target priorities, right? Tanks are not the things you want to shoot at, but instead shoot at DPS and supports, and then, or swing on them, right? And then finally, just make sure you're staying alive. That was probably one of the biggest things we had so far, was that we just died very, very frequently, and that meant we lost a ton of value because we were dead constantly, right? So we just want to stay alive as much as possible, and you're going to, honestly, see I probably say that's like one of the most one of the more exaggerated ones I've seen and good examples of survivability, and you'll probably notice that if you just stay alive more often while still doing the same stuff, that you're going to see your productivity skyrocket because you're just alive and doing things more often. All right, now that is pretty much it. So main points, probably say number 1, like we said before, is going to be aggression / survivability. Number 2 comes in at a close second, and this kind of this is a part of number 1. It kind of feeds into number 1 is our awareness, as awareness feeds into our aggression, and awareness also will stop you from dying, right, if we're aware of our surroundings. Let's see, after that, we're going to put positioning as number 3, and then ability usage as number 4. Number 5 we'll put at just the knowing what things to swing on, so target priority, and then no problems at all with shatter, and no problems with just general mechanics. All right. Any questions about anything we've gone over?
No, I think I more or less kind of get the points of what I'm mainly messing up here. I think I understand what I need to do to improve now.
All right, so then I'm going to end the recording